Our Saudi central bank computers are said to have been damaged by Iranian malware. Joining us from our Washington, D.C. bureau with the latest is Bloomberg News cybersecurity reporter Michael Riley. Michael, how extensive is the damage?
So this attack started on November 17th, and it looks like it's hit multiple agencies, government ministries in Saudi Arabia. This is a very destructive type of malware which essentially destroys computers, makes them inoperable, and erases all the data on them. There are at least 6 targets. We know that the aviation ministry has been hit and the transportation ministry has hit. We don't really know that much about how extensive the data is inside the central bank, but you can imagine the central bank plays a key role in the economy of Saudi Arabia, so any kind of damage in a network like that is going to be significant.
Yeah, and we also know that Saudi Arabia has been making huge efforts to sort of shift its economy in a different direction. So how much information would the Iranians have got from this hack, if indeed it does turn out to have been the Iranians, and what good would it be to them?
So this is a kind of an unusual hack. This sort of counts under the category of cyber war rather than espionage. So the hackers didn't go in and take information. And in fact, investigators have been trying to track whether information was taken before these digital bombs were released, and they haven't found any traces of that. What they were actually trying to do is just some level of significant destruction of the networks themselves. So this is more like throwing a grenade into a network rather than a spy sneaking into a network and stealing information.
Will the Saudis have to rebuild from scratch? Do they have the firepower, the manpower, and the intelligence power?
So that's the question in terms of the only way to recover, since this malware basically destroys the computer and the computers and the data that's on it, basically it really depends on whether or not that data was backed up and saved someplace else. I think there are initial indications that the Saudis, at least in some of these ministries, did have backups of this data, which will make sort of recovery of the network a little bit smoother. But effectively, you have to rebuild it. You have to replace all of these machines. And if that data wasn't backed up, then it's lost forever.
Michael, will there be retaliation?
So that's obviously the question. The Middle East has been sort of a tit-for-tat cyber war over the last several years. The Iranians have been hit by attacks on their nuclear facilities. They've been hit by attacks on their natural gas facilities. The Saudi Arabia has been hit by attacks on its oil facilities, and now a widespread attack on its government ministries. You can almost bet it's not going to stop here. So the question is, what's the next level of escalation?
Michael, why do this? I mean, is this just mischief on the part of Iran, if indeed it turns out to have been Iran? Or could it be just some kid somewhere discovered a way in here?
So the malware that was used is associated with Iranian state-sponsored hackers. It's exactly the same malware that was used to destroy 35,000 computers in Aramco. Now, in the weird world of cyber, another nation-state could try and be making itself look like Iran. There are lots of motives you might do that. This could affect the nuclear core, for example. But all fingers at this point, at least the evidence at this point, points back to Iran. So if it turns out to be Iran, the question is why? And that's the real issue. Is it related to the election and Donald Trump? Is it related to OPEC?
Yes.
We don't know at this point.